Welcome to the Three Inning Fan Show with me, Kelley Franco. I am so excited about my guest today. He couldn't be more timely, and he's also a super duper guy. My guest is Keith Raad from the New York Mets radio booth. Keith, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem, Kelly. So good to see you as always.
It's great to see you too. And I have to say, you have been home for 5 days since the Mets season ended. And we all have one burning question for you. Is your wife tired of you yet?
She hasn't even acknowledged the fact that I'm home. I think that we are two people living in the same place again because she's so used to hi bye, hi bye, hi bye for the entire season. But no, so far so good, Kelly, that we are still in our wife's good graces. Yes.
That sounds fantastic. Happy wife, happy life. And we're going to get into the lifestyle of the radio booth down the road. But first, let's talk a little bit about the Mets because I have to say, I'm still grappling with the why. I mean, they had a great lineup. They certainly did everything they could have done in the offseason in terms of signings. They have a great owner. They had the second highest payroll. And they didn't even make the watered down expanded playoffs. What are you thinking about as you kind of look back on the 2025 season?
Yeah, I think most people were maybe stunned that last day that it actually happened, but I think the more stunned I was wow, they really did collapse for 3.5 months. I mean, when you're watching every single game, and it's a privilege to do that, but when you see it happening little by little, you go, okay, they'll get out of this or they'll get out of that, and it just does not happen. It was less stunning and more a culmination of yeah, it just breaks your heart that it did not happen. They didn't find the good week at the end to just simply win. I mean, they won the same number of games that the Reds did. Had they won the tiebreaker over the Reds, they would have been in. I mean, it was simply down to they didn't earn it. And some people are saying they didn't deserve to get in, and I halfway agree with that because they didn't play well enough to, like you said, even simply get into the playoffs. And, the lineup was beautiful. And if you look at individual seasons, Juan Soto was amazing. Pete Alonso was amazing. Francisco Lindor put together a good offensive season, but to win games, it's more than just simply score more runs than the other team. I mean, the pitching was a major problem. Defense turned into a major problem, and those are not the defense thing is not a sexy thing for fans to talk about. Oh, did you see how much ground the left fielder covered to cut that ball off from instead of a double to a single? Like it just adds up over 162 games, and it added up to a runaway train that they couldn't stop.
As you look back on the season, is there a time when you would say you first saw the cracks appearing?
It was the I know that's a kind of a culmination began when Kodai Senga's injury happened. That June 12th against Washington, he goes to cover first. He's pitched a great game. The Mets are going to win. Pete flips him a ball and pulls him off the bag, and his hamstring, he goes tumbling into the grass. Mets won that game, but it felt like, what was that about? What is that going to mean for us as a Mets team? And then a couple weeks later, Griffin Canning goes down with an Achilles injury. So okay, they're going to tread water here for a little bit. And then when Sean and I came back against Kansas City right before the All-Star break, that was good. That was such a breath of fresh air. They'd been treading water for a month at that point. And then when Frankie Montas came back, it just felt like okay, something's a little off here. He was doing poorly in AAA. It never felt like the help was coming. And okay, they're gonna have to tread water a little bit. So like I said, it was a slow burn. It wasn't like this day and this moment, but it really all began for me when Kodai Senga got hurt because then little by little dominoes started to fall and they could never fully recover from those dominoes falling.
That's interesting because in retrospect, I think that was the key thing. Senga, Canning, and I think McGill's elbow kind of reared its head around that time too. And when I look back, that definitely sticks out for me. And I personally saw the Mets all season the way they were in April and May because they were so good. And so I had that frame of mind. And it took me a long time. I mean, basically until like the last 2 weeks of the season where I was like, wait, this isn't like a blip that they haven't bounced back yet from. They became a mediocre team.
Yeah, and that's the part most people were very stunned to find that out. I know some friends who don't follow it as much that turn on the postseason when it's time for the postseason text me and go, wait, are you guys in? No, we're not in. How are you not in? Yeah, it is baffling, but it was coming, and the way I saw it was, especially, when most, I don't know why it is, but when the Mets are home, I feel like more people are into it than when they're on the road, even though most people just take in the game the same way. But when the Mets were home, they were setting records earlier in the season, like maybe the most home wins in a month, maybe the best home record they've ever had, fighting with the teams in the 80s for some of those records. And then they go on the road and they would not look the same at all. If you go and look at their road record, I think they finished 16, 17 games under 500. They totally underperformed away from home. And if you want to compete, you have to go, some 500 or something on the road. I always saw this Jekyll and Hyde team, home and road, and I just don't know why that happened. And yeah, most fans just looking, going, yeah, they'll get in, they'll get in, they'll get in. It was, I wasn't as stunned that they didn't get in because they didn't play well for a very long time in different parts of the season.
Yeah, I definitely remember some of those road games that were bad losses. A couple to the Nationals really stand out to me. And you think, gosh, if they just could have reeled in one of them, it would have changed everything.
Yeah, and to me, the big turning point too was, I mean, that Cincinnati series in September where the Mets had their longest road trip, Detroit, Cincy, and Philly. Played well in Detroit, kicked their teeth in for 2 days, and then lost the last game, which was, you're not going to win them all, obviously. But they went to Cincinnati. I think the Reds were four back, 4 or 5 back, and I remember Reds people saying, "Well, this is it. We have to sweep you guys, or we're toast." And Edwin Diaz barely holds on. Right, Friday night game, bases loaded, Mets are up by one, nobody out, and he gets out of it unbelievably. And then the Mets lose Saturday and Sunday. It was just kind of, oh, okay, they didn't win, but that gave Cincinnati the tiebreaker. I mean, I remember calling the last double play out and going, that's a potentially painful loss for the New York Mets. And it turned out to be the most painful loss for the Mets because, had they won one of those games, it would have been much, much different. The Reds would not have had the tiebreaker, and maybe they get in. But yeah, that was probably a spot too where you just go, wow, I can't believe that they didn't take control. They didn't, kick a bad team when it was down. That was their chance to do that, and they just never did that. And that was to me going, okay, maybe they don't have it. They don't have the it factor this year, which is a cliche thing to say, but I didn't see it after that series.
Well, that's interesting because we're definitely going to get into the offseason moves they need to make and what they need to fix substantively. But you mentioned this it factor. And what is it? Is it a leadership issue? Is it a chemistry issue? What is that it factor?
I think, Kelly, if it was that easy to pinpoint, everybody would have pinpointed it. I mean, everyone says, "Well, Jose Iglesias wasn't there," and yeah, Iglesias wasn't there, but every year is different. You need somebody to step up in a way that is an energy force, and I think players like Jose Iglesias or Jesse Winker can be energy forces to keep people going when they need to be. You need to have somebody that can hustle out a play or get fired up and get the guys going. Everybody has their own role. I just felt like this Mets team knew they were really good, knew that they were veterans, and there's a part of them that I think knew that, okay, we are really good. If we just turn it on at the end and we get hot at the right time instead of it being an amazing regular season team and fading toward the playoffs, like let's try to time this out. I think they might have timed it out a little bit too much, where they said, okay, let's wait, 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 and then go so that we go into it hot, because we've seen so many times, you win 101 games and you lose to the Padres in the first weekend of the playoffs. We've seen that story before. We've seen other teams get the bye and lose in that first week. So I don't know what it is with the it factor, but I think that when you don't pitch, and I could see it in some of the offensive players' faces when they'd be down 3-0 in the first inning or 4-0 in the second inning. You could just see that on their faces, oh man, we got to dig ourselves out of a hole. And when you do that, it just beats you down in a sense. So I really do think that not having substantial starting pitching that you could rely on affected them in other ways, where there were games that they were lost in the second inning where it seemed like they fought, but it was over in the very beginning, I think.
Yeah, certainly we kind of saw that kind of you wish there was more fight in them toward the end of the game. I read just kind of one more thing on this the it factor because I read an interview. It was a Q and A that Mike Puma did with Keith Hernandez. I just read it this morning. And Mike Puma asked, do you get the sense there were chemistry issues with this team? And Keith said, I have a sneaky suspicion there is something underlying that is a problem with this team, but I can't put my finger on it. I could be wrong. It's just a gut feeling. Do you have that similar feeling or not really?
Yeah, it's funny talking to some Mets people. They would say to you, take the 2024 team in May, right at the very bottom of the barrel, and say that there's no chemistry in that team whatsoever. They don't. Do they like playing with each other? What's going on here? That's the same clubhouse 2 months later that ripped off an unbelievable amount of wins and took it all the way to the postseason. Winning cures simply everything. Nobody cares about who gets along with who or this and that. Winning cures it all. So I don't. Yeah, yeah, something was missing. I don't. I think the thing about this kind of team is sometimes, again, when you have so many veterans, especially offensive veterans, is the motivation of. I think that's. I think, and we're probably going to get into this, but why a lot of the coaching staff might have been let go today was because coaches are supposed to get the most out of this talent as the season goes on. I mean, it's you have to ask them to give you it all in May and June, and not just when it matters most in September and hopefully October. And they didn't do that. So the it factor was maybe a lack of motivation from within, from the environment, and that comes from a lot of veteran baseball people. When times are bad, they'll just go, we'll get out of it, we'll get out of it, we'll get out of it, and most of the time they do. Good players, good teams do. That's why this Mets team is so shocking, because they couldn't do that, and they were very much like, we'll be fine, we'll be fine, we'll be fine, and it never happened. And you look back and go, okay, what was it? I think it was, yeah, they may have missed a couple of fiery players or this and that, but they finished 83 and 79. Like, they 4 games over 500. That's not a bad month. That's a bad season for this level of team, and that's every day. That's who's affecting your team every day. Who are they around every day? Coaches, manager, players. I mean, it's a full on limp to 4 games over 500. And yeah, there's stuff to look at. But I can't sit here and go, Kelley, that there's an absolute problem. Here's the person that was the problem. Here's what went wrong. I didn't see that.
Well, I think you're right. If people knew what it was, they would have fixed it. But you brought up the breaking news, so let's just get on that. And literally, this broke 90 minutes ago. Eric Chavez, Jeremy Barnes, bench. They were both the hitting coaches for our viewers. Bench coach John Gibbons and third base coach Mike Sarbar. But the big one, pitching coach Jeremy Hefner, all gone. That is a major house cleaning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, shocked, but leaving Miami, you kind of got the sense that there were some changes coming, and I know fans are probably thinking, well, somebody's got to go down with the ship. Is it going to be Carlos Mendoza? And really, I don't think that Carlos was the problem. I think it would have been unfair to let him go, even though in New York, fans they smell blood, they just want to see something happen, and this was the something. I mean, you're not going to fire the players. You can, a few of them, but not all of them. But yeah, I think again, the daily those are the daily people around the Mets, from morning, noon, and night, trying to get the most out of them. And so they let a bunch of coaches go. Glenn Sherlock retired. John Gibbons officially resigned, but probably said, John, would you mind resigning here? The people that stayed, I think, Kelley, are the ones that you look at and you go, okay, what do they want? What were they missing from other people? So Antoine Richardson, first base coach, stayed. The reason Antoine stayed is because he got Juan Soto to steal near 40 bases this year, 38 stolen bases. He got Brandon Nimmo out of his shell. He got Brett Beatty moving and running. He made those players better by being around them every single day. Desi Druschel was the assistant pitching coach with Jeremy Hefner, someone that they brought in last year. They like his ability to manipulate pitch shapes and grips and get some players better, throwing more pitches as they develop their own pitching. They liked what he brought to the table. And then Rafael Fernandez was an assistant hitting coach. So, a lot of the times the dynamics of, okay, you have your two hitting coaches, very hard job, no matter who it is. Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes are leaving. They're gone, but we kept this guy around. Maybe he connected better with some of the players, maybe got more out of them. it's a matter of the people that stayed are the ones that helped get the players better, and the people that left didn't. And I loved a lot of them. I mean, Hef was amazing. Mike Sarbaugh, one of the great guys. Gibby was terrific. You know, Eric and Jeremy had their molds of their time, but sometimes it's time for a new voice to motivate players, and maybe things felt stale. And for Hef, you know, looking back, a lot of people, there's great moments with Hef, and there are moments that you go, okay, well, there's some similar problems pitching wise. I mean, the Mets walked a ton of hitters for the last few years, and that was a terrible part of what they had going for them. I mean, they got a lot out of really good. You know, Sean Manaea was a great project in 24, and Severino a great project in 24, and you know this year there were some injuries and not a lot of people stepped forward. So once you feel like you're not getting the most out of your guys, you change what you can, and that's changing the coaching. But again, for fans, they go, yeah, we wanted this guy down, this guy down. Like great baseball people, they work their asses off, all of them, and it just for some of them it didn't work out, wasn't the right fit. Time was up, things got stale, and so the Mets moved forward.
Wow, that is tremendous. And folks, that is why we have Keith Raad on the show because nobody knows this stuff except him. That was amazing. Thank you. I mean, the thing about Hefner is that last year it was almost like he was this mythical unicorn with his, pitching lab, and Sean Manaea changed the arm slot after he watched Chris Sale, and everything was coming up roses. And now this year he's out of a job.
Yeah, and it's unfair because, you know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, teams would be begging to pick up the phone to call the Mets. What can we do to get an interview with Jeremy Hefner? I mean, Jeremy, what he learned in Minnesota was excellent. The Mets poached him, and he survived a couple of managerial changes, right? With, you know, Louis Rojas and Buck Showalter, and here's Carlos Mendoza, and Hef stays. And a lot of the pitchers loved him because pitching coaches will come in, and whoever the Mets hire, I'm sure will be the right fit. But pitching coaches will come in and say, I love learning, off speed. I'm a big fan of this kind of change up or this like philosophy. Hef was very much like a therapist where he would say, okay, this pitcher's really good at this pitcher's really good at that. I'm going to try to get the best out of them. And I don't have one size fits all philosophy. I'm going to try to get guys better. And who knows if when you bring in 47 different pitchers, it's hard to take 47 different temperatures on how to get guys better. But it simply got a little bit. Go back to this year, a lot of walks. Go back to last year, a lot of walks, and not much improvement as the season went on. And so again, with Hef, I guarantee you he'll get another job probably very quickly for 26, and he'll do great. He's a great person. I know a lot of the Mets, all their pitchers loved him. Just time for maybe a new voice and a new message without things improving as far as walks and control and command.
Aside from those things, though, when you have things like Senga, who now appears to be very fragile, or Manaya, who he's got some, they say, bodies floating in his arm, which sounds like something from Alien. But anyway, he's got bodies in his arm. So, like, do some of those injuries, do they fall to the pitching coach too, or is that like more of a conditioning coach issue?
Yeah, that I would find. I think that's separate. I mean, I don't associate. You know, so and so pitcher got hurt. It's a pitching coach problem. It may be an umbrella pitching department problem. You know, I look at the Dodgers and I say, why is everybody getting Tommy John? Why is everybody hurt over there? What are they doing to put those guys in such a stressful state where they're coming up hurt? And so I don't think Sanga's injury or Manaya's injury, I'm going to say, well, you know, that's on Jeremy Hefner. I wouldn't say that at all. Those are separate things. It's just a matter of results. And truly, maybe Jeremy Hefner didn't deserve to get fired, but it was a matter of results. And it's time for maybe a new message, or maybe David Stearns said, hey, give him 2 years. Didn't really see much improvement. We gotta move on to next. And yeah, but I would separate the injuries from the results.
So let's talk about David Stearns and his end of the season press conference where he talked about the focus is going to be run prevention. Run prevention means a couple different things. It means pitching and it also means defense.
It does. And those are two things where you look back and I was sifting through, I love Fangraphs. Defensive metrics are so weird. I think a lot of teams have their own. A lot of the publicly available information is not the most accurate. But what is true is Pete Alonso is not a very good defensive first baseman. Juan Soto is not a very good defensive right fielder. Brandon Inman was not a great defensive left fielder. Mark Vientos was the worst third baseman defensively in the game. some of those things can be true. And a lot of fans, and myself included, I was part of this for a while, would, well, let's just look at how many errors this person has. And it's about that. Or, hey, Pete picks a lot of balls out of the dirt when Lindor has a bad throw or McNeil has a bad throw. It's more than that. It's range. It's again extra bases. It's when you have a pitching staff that is okay. Everyone has an ERA of 4. They're going to just try to keep you in the game. You need an above average to elite defense to make that pitcher look that much better. And so that is getting more athletic guys to run balls down in the gap. David Peterson ended up kind of regressing a little bit because David Peterson is someone who relies on contact a lot. And when you do that, you'll give up a couple of line drives to the outfield. You have to catch those or not. It's doubles and triples and singles. So you need a good defense behind him. And that's what I learned because I think my first year was 23, which was one of David Stern's last years in Milwaukee. The Brewers would come in, Kelley, to Citi Field, and Colin Ray would throw 6 scoreless. And I'm going, how is Colin Ray, whose ERA is near 4.5 for his career, how's he throwing 6 scoreless? And then they shout the next guy I never heard of, and the next guy, and you go, how are they doing this? And it's not the pitcher. It's something on the pitcher, but it's the guys around him, the defense, the outfielders, making plays. Doesn't have to be unbelievable, but the good range that sometimes the Mets were missing. And the problem is when you have Pete hitting 38 homers and Juan hitting 43 homers, like that's awesome. You want that. But if you're knocking in so many runs and allowing more than that, you're going to end up 80, 83 and 79. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a juggling act because what do you do with Pete? Do you trade the offense for the defense and tell the fan base we don't care about you as much? I mean, these are all things that they're wrestling with. But the defense is a major problem, and I think most Mets fans would rather be in the playoffs with a team of people that they recognize 3 or 4 faces instead of everybody than recognize everybody and not be in the playoffs.
So let's talk about Pete. Do the Mets have an appetite to bring him back?
I don't know. I think last year I could see it coming that he was going to maybe make a comeback. This year, I think Pete wants to come back. I think he said that many times. I think that they want him back, but his defense is limiting. His defense maybe over the course of 162 games loses more games than you would think. I'm going to say it like that. His offense, though, is incredible, hard to replicate. What's more important to them? I don't see him getting more than a 4-year deal, in my opinion. But does Pete want that? Is somebody going to give him some moolah for more than that? He's entitled to it. Seems like he wants it. Seems like his agent is a big fan of that money thing. Um, I think it was important for Pete to get to 253 career home runs, set the Mets record. I think he wants to hit more home runs. But if we get that tweet in January that Pete is signed elsewhere, I would not go, wow. I would be saying wow again because it finally happened, but I would not be floored like I think maybe most Met fans would be floored. I love Pete. I think Pete's a great person behind the scenes. He's the nicest gentleman, classiest guy. I think this is all business, Kelley, and fans hate when it's all business because usually that's not a good thing for who's buying Alonso jerseys in 26.
Well, especially if that tweet winds up being something like, I'm so excited. I always wanted to be a Philly, or I always wanted to be a Yankee, or something like that. That would be hurtful. So Pete's going to be 31 in December. Do you think the Mets would sign him up for 4 years? Stearns isn't a big fan of long contracts for people on the wrong side of 30, especially if they're corner infielders.
Yeah, no, that's the case with Pete. I mean, he's getting, you had a year of him the last few years. I mean, that's him at his peak, right? We're seeing Soto at 26, right? Enter the very end of his peak, right? So you got what you got out of Pete. Are you going to get that next year or the year after? And maybe he will be a DH, but then is he gonna sign up for a DH contract or is he gonna sign up for a first baseman contract? And that is all going to be on the table with everybody. And um, it's not an easy dance for either side. I mean, I think last year it was really helpful, actually, if the Mets did not want to if the Mets didn't bring Pete back, right? There's this avalanche of negativity, and how could they, right? But I think last year at was it Amazing Day when David and Carlos and Steve were on the dais and people were yelling at them about Pete, and Steve calmed it down like it's not us, it's not our side. It's there's a big disagreement here. And Mets fans went from booing to cheering in a matter of 30 seconds because Steve outlaid that this is on the agent. We're dealing with an agent that wants way more than is going to be offered back. So I think that helped. Maybe if most fans might say, okay, maybe they just he wanted more than they could offer him. And again, we'd rather see a team in the playoffs than just guys that we like that are hitting home runs, but we don't make the playoffs. That I think moving on from Pete, better make the Mets better. Um, and I don't know how they do that, but that's the way they might go.
Would there be a potential logjam issue at DH? Because, as you mentioned, Soto's not a banner right fielder. And if Alonso is possibly going to be DHing if they re sign him, is that an issue?
I think it is an issue because it's price. I mean, you're looking at a team that has a lot of money on the books, and it's going to be a lot of money. And I think that all that money that is on the offense, and people are wondering, well, why isn't Stearns signing a big name pitcher? It's like, well, they don't have much money to go around, and they do to spend, but they're not going to spend it on one person. They've got to sort it out with the rest of the pitching staff, and so there's the give and take. You can't just buy a $600 million payroll perfectly on the offensive side, perfectly on the pitching side. So yeah, there'd be a log jam. If they throw Soto as the lefty DH, or maybe Soto's the first baseman, I don't know. That's maybe a possibility. And Pete's the righty DH. Does he want that? Does Pete want that? Does Juan want that? It might be a tough conversation because, hey guys, we threw you out there and you hit great. Some of the best offensive seasons we've had, but we won 83 games and our defense is poor, and you guys are not great defenders. Like, I think most players would sign up. Well, forget it. I want to win, whatever it takes to win. Um, so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of tough conversations, Kelley, in the next few months about all that.
I tell you, I love the hot stove machinations. And I mean, the Pete thing, I thought it was riveting last winter, and now it's going to be riveting this winter.
Yeah, and again, I love him. I think he's a great man. I think he loves the fans. The fans love him. But I think now that we've been through last year, which everyone was taken to the brink that he might not come back. I think you have that emotional exhaustion. Okay, well, what is it going to be this year? You're not going to be as on the edge of your seat or upset, I think, if Pete leaves. You just understand it more why, I think, this time around, if it happens. But if he comes back, as Pete would say, hell yeah.
Well, I think he's going to have an easier offseason. He is a year older, but he's not saddled by the QO, and he had a great year. Good year.
Yes. No, and that part of it, I think, is something that if I'm the Mets and I believe in somebody who wants to get better, proves that when the pressure's on, he can rise to it. I mean, he hit, I think, 271 or 273, whatever he finished at, was one of the highest simply batting averages of his career. It wasn't just the home runs or knocking in runs. Like, he was a much better all-around hitter. And I think he was, the free agency last year told him that, as Howie would say, is he Dave Kingman or is he not? Is he just going to hit home runs or is he going to be a good hitter? And he was a good hitter. 40 doubles, more doubles than or 41 doubles, whatever it was, more doubles than he's ever had, much more balanced. He tried so hard to get better defensively. He worked at it too. It just, the range was just not there. But he works and he wants to get better. And I don't see him if he signs a 10-year deal with the Mets. Not that this would happen. He would, add 50 pounds and be happy and all right, I got mine, I'm good. Like he would work. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
So the other side of run prevention, as David Stearns told us he was going to focus on, is pitching. So Edwin Diaz, does he have the Mets over a barrel here?
Truly, I mean, I don't know Edwin. I'm not in Edwin's camp. I'm not advising Edwin, but if I'm Edwin, I don't opt out. I don't think that's a good idea. That's my personal opinion on the way that, I mean, the reliever market. I mean, Edwin's making pretty close to 20 million a year. I think he's signed up for a couple more seasons.
Yeah, he's two more, 37 and two more years left.
Yeah, yeah, and he's getting up there, and there have been, if you look at his year by years, he's either pitching to a one something ERA like he did this year, or a three something ERA, and it's been kind of flip flop back and forth perfectly for his entire career. And you look at Josh Hader, who finished the season hurt, and the Astros missed the playoffs, big contract. Tanner Scott, huge contract with the Dodgers, everybody said, I can't believe they signed Tanner Scott. And now teams are saying, I can't wait till Tanner Scott gets in the game so we can hit him. Uh,
Yeah.
it's frightening to if you're a closer, Edwin has guaranteed money for the next 3 years. So it's a lot of money too. If you opt out and you look around and you go, oh, can I get a take back on that? Is Steve going to give me the line? I think I would stay if I was him. I would stay.
It's the not knowing. He's going to be 32 next season. I was thinking he would opt out because he'd want more years.
Yeah, and yes, that's what every player wants, more years. Every team wants a low amount of years so that if they sign you and you combust, then they're off the hook quickly. I mean, that's the tale as old as time game right there. You've got the CBA coming up after next year. So if you're locked in like you're Edwin for 3 years, like I would do that. I know he wants more years, but I don't know if you're going to get more. Like Michael Conforto left how much money on the table? Is he going to get all that money that he left back over the course of his career with these 1 year deal? I don't know. The money is guaranteed. Is the future money going to be the same or bigger? I don't know.
You mentioned 2027, and I just had this image in my head all of a sudden of Kelly and Keith being baristas at Starbucks or something during a lockout. Like that's what we'll do together.
Yeah, do you remember the old days, Kelly? What every day there was a baseball game? Yeah, those were the days. Um,
Right.
the funny thing is, so that's why I love being around, Howie Rose, is that he's lived through all of them, lockouts that were real, lockouts that were not, strikes, seasons that were lost. Of course, he has his hockey background too, so it's great to pick his brain about that. And for me, I was born in '93, so the strike of '94, I don't, kind of remember that. I remember being a kid. Oh,
I would think not. You were one.
I wasn't quite listening to the fan at 1994 at 1 years old. Maybe I was in the back seat, but yeah, I remember the entire hockey season when I was a kid, in what 2011, 12 or 12, 13 was gone. I thought, what, So, but yeah, that there's a lot of chatter that this is going to be, nasty, and the optimist in me that's never really lived through one like this is going, oh yeah, they'll play, there'll be games, and a lot of people are going, you might want to check that out first.
Right. Right. I was worried your wife would be sick of you after 5 days. What would she do after a whole summer?
I don't know. I'll be working with you pouring coffee, Kelly. So that's
Let's talk for a second about what the pitching staff could look like after David Stearns is done with it this offseason. I mean, obviously, if there's a bright spot this year, it was the youngsters McLean, Sproat, Tong. Love those guys. Are all three of them going to be on the Mets? Obviously, McLean's going to be on the Mets. Which one of those is going to be back at AAA? Which one of those might be on the trading block? What do you think?
yeah. I think McLean has proven enough that the kid's special, and I know that I don't know when this is going to come out, but the Cam Schlittler kid last night for the Yankees did what I think McLean could do, right on the big stage with not a lot of experience, just shut a team down. That's what McLean proved this year. I could see Tong starting at AAA, just getting a little more seasoning. I mean, you can see the stuff you could, but there's command, there's control, and there's command. Control is throwing strikes, command is putting exactly where you want it. And I think there's a little bit on the command side that I think Jonah needs to perfect a little bit more. But I really like what I saw from Brandon Sproat too. He needs an April and May where not every game is do or die in the standings. Just a couple of outings, some good, some bad, just kind of fill it out. And then Christian Scott's coming back from injury. He'll be back next year. Sean Manaea will be back next year. David Peterson will be back next year. And then they'll fill in. Kodai Senga, Kelly, Lord knows what's coming next. Roll the die. And is he pitching or not? I don't think the Mets know that. Um, but there will be some young arms that you like. I'm sure some, I hate to say this, but you plan on somebody getting hurt somewhere along the line. So you fill in with some depth. But the thing that David Stearns has always said is that while he has to spend all this money on other positions on the field, you've got to develop your own pitching because it's so freaking expensive. And I think they're doing that. And I think they took a major step forward with that this year. I was a little skeptical about when they did it, obviously, because it was a little too late. But it was there. The seedlings are there. I think those are three great arms that you can start to hope and pray can do that for you a little bit more next year.
Well, I love to watch Stearns cook, and I think he's such an interesting guy because he obviously kind of thrives on this. He likes the thriftiness of the small market, and you can see that, his Brewers background shining through. But then he's got the Cohen wallet, which is helpful. But it's a odd dichotomy because you have signings like Juan Soto, and then you have the Griffin Cannings, and it's an interesting stew.
Yeah, and I first year I was going, how are they gonna do this? And they did it, and they did it. Mania and Severino, there were people that thought Severino was done, and this was his last chance, and he was great. I think that they believe in what they can do with identifying stuff that could be Griffin Canning's changeup, which he didn't throw a ton with the Angels, but he threw it a ton with the Mets, and they taught him a knuckle curve, and he was really good. And so instead of signing Corbin Burns, can you create Corbin Burns? I don't know. I think that's what they tried to do. That's again, like I said, Colin Ray would come out of nowhere with the Brewers and shut the Mets down for 6 scoreless. And you're going, how is this guy? And if Colin Ray is listening out there, Kelley, Colin, I think you're terrific, but I didn't expect you to, have the career that you had with the teams of the Brewers that
It's
you
the
did.
Colin Ray disclaimer.
That's right. So I like the projects because you can hit at one or two. Like Sean Manaea was a project. I hate to say it, but he was. And now he's someone that you're relying on. But for every project, you miss out on Jose Quintana giving you 30 starts or Chris Bassett giving you 30 starts. There has to be some stability in that rotation to give you six, whether it's pretty or not, that you have to get that from somebody. The Mets did not really get that from it. David Peterson, yes, but even he had never done that before this year. Like the amount of innings he threw this year was far and away the most he's ever thrown in a major league season. So projects, really, I'm all for it. I know fans go, "Who is this?" But I like that because it's like a stock projection, hit or miss. But you need some stability. Need it.
Well, I think both of us have plenty of Twitter followers who do not like the projects and really would like an ace.
For sure. No, and again, yes. Listen, Kelley, I watch every inning of every game, and there's games I go, I don't think we have much of a chance with this guy pitching tonight. But yeah. But when it works, it's beautiful. You look like a genius, right? David and company look like a genius in 2024, and then they did not in 2025. But I think that he knows for every project, we got to sign someone who's got innings or stability or something. An ace they're hard to find. I know that everyone is saying, "Well, we just watched Aces pitch the last few days of the wild card." I'm like, yeah, but they're really hard to find and they're really hard to keep healthy. And there's not a lot of them, really. I mean, Tarek Skubal is a monster. Paul Skeens is a monster. They're not growing on, it's hard to make them. And they're trying to make them at the minor league level. Maybe McLean is one, but it's hard to keep him healthy. If the Mets signed Corbin Burns, he still would have got hurt,
Yeah.
so, I get it. I think stability is more important than an ace, but that's just me. Sorry.
No,
Here I am getting rid of Pete Alonso, bring in boring defensive players, Kelley, and give me the project. Mets fans are gonna love me.
well, so speaking of watching every inning of every game, you do. Um, And I have this real curiosity, and I hope my viewers do too, about what life is like when you are in the booth. And you probably feel really lucky to have this, one of the coolest jobs ever, but it also can't be an easy way of life.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm always grateful for this job, and it is. I worked my tail off for 10 years in the minor leagues, making nothing, talking to nobody on the microphone except my mom. So I feel like I've definitely when I worked 15-hour days in the minor leagues, now this is just I get to do what I have to. I have to sell tickets and sponsorship and marketing. I just get to call the game. So it's a dream, and I don't complain about a minute of it. But the time away from family, sucks. Like I love my wife, I love my daughter, I love this child on the way, and being away for
Congratulations.
thank you.
There's a baby on the way, in case you
On the
didn't
way,
catch that, everyone.
yep, we're gonna have even teams 2-on-2 here pretty soon.
Hi.
Uh,
I didn't realize that. So you found out and it's going to be a boy?
did I say a boy? Oh no.
Oh,
I don't know. We don't know. Did I say a boy? Oh boy. I think we were talking about boy names, and no, we don't know we don't know the gender.
okay.
Hey, breaking news: the Mets fire their coaches, and Keith is having a boy. No, no. If it's a boy, then great. We broke the news here, but we really don't. We didn't know on this one. But um, it is the time away is tough. It's tough when I get videos of my daughter and she said this today or did that today, like just that in the weeds, boots on the ground, like cleaning up dirty kid things. I do miss that, and I feel bad for my wife who has to do it all year. But the travel is amazing. I love getting on a plane and going to a new city and drinking coffee in a new city or going to this place or exploring. I mean, there's nothing better. My dad was a travel agent, so we'd always travel, and I just love going someplace new and new stadiums, meeting the people, experiencing the culture. Um, yeah, I mean, some people that travel gets to them. Yeah, it sucks to land in Phoenix at 3 a.m. and you're playing that day, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have questions about the plane. So it's all charter planes, right?
Yeah, so the Mets partner with Delta. I think, Delta is the company that we use. There are two types of planes that we have. They call it the show plane and then just a regular commercial plane. But the show plane is, first of all, we drive to JFK most of the time, pull into a back lot, and you drive right on the tarmac. You get off the bus. The plane is right there. You're not like going through security. They will screen, like go through, like have a couple people go through security. It's random screening. You get on the plane, and this show.
A couple of people on the team go through security.
Yeah, it's there's Starling Marte taking his headset off, or Howie Rose, open up your bag, Mr. Rose. Yeah. Gary Cohen, let me see that Kindle. Is that a Kindle? Yeah, those are things that happen. And then you get on the plane, and there's the show plane is the one where like there's tables so the guys can spread out and do whatever they do. There's the famous card games. They don't ask us to play. And then in the back you have like kind of these larger, they're first class size seats. It's not like you're laying back, and it's just bigger seats. And then there's when we have a lot of people traveling, they'll have like a regular jet. It's just like all yours, so you'll get a whole row, three across, three across.
Well, what do you mean when you have a lot of people traveling? Is it like, do you vary in terms of how many people travel with the team?
Like this year when we went to Williamsport, we brought a lot of Mets brought a lot of staff
Oh, yeah, for something
for
like that. Okay.
video. Yeah. When we went to London, we had a bigger plane.
Yeah, right. We saw each other in London. That was fun.
Right. It
Yeah.
feels like a decade ago, but yeah.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. But most of the time it's what they call this show plane, which is it's nice. You get to know the flight attendants. You work with them all year. They're great. It's fun. And truly, I know it's cushy, but when I counted it was 40 flights this year that we took. When you're flying that much, drive onto the tarmac, get off the plane, like it takes a couple hours to leave and get through traffic and go. So it's nice to have a seamless get on and pull out right away and fly. So it's you're flying a lot. It's a lot, but it's easy. They make it easy on us.
So I was watching remember when, obviously you remember when Pete Alonso hit his amazing home run against the Brewers in the 2024 wild card round, right? How he made his amazing call and they played it on the plane. And so
Mhm.
we all saw this video of, I think Stearns or somebody playing Howie's call on the plane. And it was interesting because we saw the inside of the plane. And so I want to ask questions about this. First
Sure.
of all, I don't really like flying. So I feel like if I were on that plane, I'd be like, Keith and Howie, hold my hand. But anyway, so I mean, is there anyone who doesn't really like flying on that plane? Like, what do they do? Does someone have to hold their hand?
You mean like Steve Gelbs? Not a fan of flying
He
at
doesn't
all.
like flying either.
Flying. No, no.
Oh, okay. Well, me and Steve could hang out then.
Yeah, you'll have to ask Steve what his, famous concoction is to get through it, but there's a concoction in there. I don't know the methods because I just throw my headphones on and watch a movie. But yeah, there's some people that don't like flying. I don't, it's funny, like the players, I don't know. The only players, and I know players don't like to stay at the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee because it's haunted.
Yeah, it's haunted. Yeah. So have you ever stayed there?
Yeah, we stayed there my first 2 years. This year, we stayed at a different hotel in Milwaukee because our travel guy said, "I'm sick of booking half the team in another hotel. We're all just going to go to the other hotel because everyone's scared to stay in the Pfister because it's haunted and whatever." I mean, I went to bed in the Pfister, putting my remote and phone down on one coffee table, hoping I would wake up and it was on the other one. I'm like, I just want to see this ghost that everyone's so afraid of.
You're like, bring it.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know the exact. I mean, there was an article written a long time ago, like Bryce Harper or Mookie Betts like hate the Fister. I don't know who on the Mets doesn't stay there. I just kind of go to my room and shut it down. But no, it's a thing. It's a thing.
So, have you spoken with any? Because I read that article too, and I got to ask Clint Hurdle about it because he told me that one time he was staying there with his team, and I think like some player knocked on his door in the middle of the night and was just completely freaked. And I'm sure he'd never tell me who it was, but it'd be fun to ask him anyway. But anyway, so does anyone have any good haunted Pfister Hotel stories that you've heard?
I mean, when we were there with Buck in 23, he said that, all these players are complaining, blah, 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 blah. This is the Fister. And then I go into my room and I go around the bend and something's in my room. There's a dark figure. And I'm going, no. And you can see Buck doing this squinty face. No. And all of a sudden someone turns around and it was like Kevin Kearse, who's our equipment manager, like packing up his room because that's apparently his job for the manager. And so there was literally somebody in Buck Showalter's hotel room in the Pfister in Milwaukee, but that's because he was supposed to be there, but it scared the bejesus out of Buck. So
Would have been good if he put a catcher's mask on. I mean, that
something,
really would have
yes.
been good.
Lean into it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, it's got to be a really interesting life, and I'm sure that most of it is awesome and some of it is probably pretty tiring and a little hard.
Yeah, so the travel's great. The city, we land in a city and we go out to dinner or we wake up, get some breakfast somewhere. But the long rain delays or we played at 7 o'clock in Chicago on Thursday and we didn't land in Miami and get into our beds until 3:50. And then you're playing that night, it's just, it can get to you. I mean, I'm 32 and Howie was, is 71 and Keith Hernandez is 72. And they're like, all right, this is a lot.
Right,
And
right.
I'll say the same thing when I'm 72, but yeah, it could get to some people.
Well, I have already kept you way too long. You are one of these guests that I could talk to all afternoon, but if I want you ever to come back, I better let you go. So let's close it up, Keith Raad, because we close every show here at the Three Inning Fan with a very important question because besides baseball, I spend my whole life talking about food. I mean, that's pretty much the two things. So, we close every show with what's good to eat while watching the ball game. It can be while you're home sitting on your couch, which you probably never are anymore, or it can be when you're at the ballpark. Keith Rod, what's good to eat while watching the ball game?
I'll give you two. I'll give you the one that when I'm sitting here watching the playoffs in my couch. I wish I was watching them in real time, but PBPs, I call them, peanut butter pretzels. I could just go more, more, more. There's a big jar, not jar, plastic container they have, Kirkland at Costco, and you just little by little your wrist gets further in, and then you just ate the whole thing. But then at a ball game, I don't eat hot dogs anymore because I ate 38 hot dogs one season in Coney Island. I worked in Coney Island. I ate too many hot dogs. So done with hot dogs. Just chicken fingers and fries and some barbecue sauce. Just chilling, feet up. Cold blue moon in my hand. Perfect.
Ah, that sounds good. Yeah, that's good stuff. It's good ballpark food.
Love it.
Well, you have been such an amazing guest. Will you come back on this show again, Keith?
Yeah, and we only have 3 innings at a time, Kelly. So yeah, if you were on, absolutely. So good to talk to you.
It's been great. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have another show next week and we'll see you then. Bye bye.